I've learned to embrace that process of building, of growing, of overcoming those challenges as one of the most enjoyable parts, because
today we're diving deep into what it takes to navigate the crucial first 90 days of starting a dropshipping journey. After building multiple dropshipping businesses, it's become clear to us that the actions that you take within your first 90 days will often determine the success of your entire business journey. So in this episode, we've broken down the first 90 days into the exact steps and the mindset that you need to have going into those 90 days. And I know that, Lewis, toward the end of this episode, you want to share the one most important task, the most important action for people to take on day one. So let's dive in, Lewis. The first 90 days can really make or break a dropshipping business, can't they?
it can, yeah, absolutely. The first 90 days are crucial, but at the same time, really exciting. You know, it's like that kind of high stress, high stakes, like what you put into it will be what you get out at the end of it. And I think the strength of what you eventually build depends on the groundwork that you put in within that first 90-day period. So it's like if you're putting together a house, you know, you're building the foundations. If you rush those foundations, you're building something on a shaky structure. It starts to wobble over time. And so it's the same with setting up a dropshipping business. You've got to go into it with the right foundation. So by that, we mean things like the right mindset, the right strategy, and also just taking the right actions as well. It's all very well having a great plan and having the right mindset, but if you don't do anything, you'll find yourself 3 months down the line, no further ahead than if you had moved in and taken action from the outset. So focusing on the products and the niche selection initially is going to be key for building one of these types of businesses. So whether that's looking at market research, whether it's looking at the different trends, the demand, the supplier availability, all of the different criteria that we look at when it comes to selecting an e-commerce niche to go into when building a high-ticket dropshipping business. And then once you're up and running with that, building your store, but also building those relationships with suppliers. If you can get that right, those build relationships that will last you for many years into business, and years later you might find yourself in these great unique scenarios where you've got great supplier relationships, all because you put that effort in initially with those suppliers in the first 90 days. So it's amazing to see, like, the sky's the limit with what you can achieve in the first 90 days. I know Phil, one of our members from Dropship Unlocked, who we had on the podcast, actually, I think it was episode 43, scaled to £52,000 in just 3 months. And then after that, the sky's really the limit with where you take it. You know, we've seen Dropship Unlocked members like Phil, one of our members who joined us actually on the podcast. We had him on in episode 43 of the podcast, I think it was, who scaled his business to £52,000 in just the first 90 days of starting, and then went on to do 100K and beyond very, very quickly after that. And I think it just shows what's possible with that right mindset, that right approach, and taking the right action going into it, right?
Exactly. Inspiring to hear other people's stories, especially when they go in with the right mindset, and then they can have incredible success within a short space of time. Really, I mean, 90 days is no time at all, really, when you think about it. So in terms of setting up foundations, I think there's 2 types of foundations that we need to set up, both tactical and emotional foundations. And the emotional foundations that you set up are largely determined by the mindset that you have going into starting a new business. And I think the mindset that we have is largely under our control. You know, you can choose after listening or watching to today's episode what your mindset is going to be. Part of the mindset is obviously your personality and the environment and the people that you're around, but a large part of it we have control over. So we'll dive into the mindset that you need, Lewis. I mean, firstly, how important do you think mindset is during these initial stages?
It's everything. Yeah, because without the right mindset, everything else falls to the wayside. It crumbles. Mindset is the difference between seeing the obstacles that you will inevitably face as these insurmountable hurdles versus just seeing them as challenges that you have to overcome to eventually achieve success as an entrepreneur. You know, some people will go into business without the right mindset, hit their first hurdle, which we're all going to hit them, and then just quit at the sign of it and think, oh, well, you know, I wasn't willing to overcome that. I wasn't willing to take that risk, or something went wrong, or I couldn't figure this out on my site, or I got a few rejections from suppliers, or I ran my ads for a month and they weren't profitable, or whatever it is, that whatever hurdle or obstacle you hit, if you choose to quit after that initial first month, then, or first month, you know, or the first hurdle, you probably need to adjust that long-term vision. I know that if I didn't have a long-term vision of success and what I wanted to achieve beyond just the initial results and the success of the first few months, I'd have never continued past some of those hurdles because it's not rational to do so. You're like, I'm putting in so many hours here, giving up so many evenings and weekends, and I'm earning nothing from doing this. Like any rational person who didn't have a long-term vision driving them would think, oh, I would just go back to working. It was much more straightforward. I worked and I got a salary and it was all very simple. And so it's a guarantee that you are going to face these obstacles as you go. And because of that, the question becomes, well, how are you going to react to them? And how are you going to prepare for them? Because that's what makes the difference. One great hack is to get around other people who've already faced and overcome the challenges that you're perhaps about to face. And that's where a community can come in. It's why communities of people who have achieved and are achieving what you're aiming for are so valuable. Recently, I've realized that I think part of the satisfaction of the process for me is the journey. When it comes to entrepreneurship, I've learned to embrace that process of building, of growing, of overcoming those challenges as one of the most enjoyable parts, because otherwise what happens, and this has happened to me too many times now that I'm realizing, okay, I keep making the same mistake. You set your eyes on what you think is the destination or the goal. You get to the point where the business allows you to achieve it, and then it's really an anticlimax, and you realize, oh, like I hit my first 100 grand or I hit my first million. Oh, I'm not like, they always say like, where's the marching band? Where are the fireworks? Like there was no celebration. It just kind of happened. And you realize, was the thing I was aiming for the whole time a mirage? It never really existed. But if you can reframe that and be just grateful for what you have, grateful for the fact that you're on the journey, that you get to do these things on a daily basis, that point you don't become disappointed when you do achieve those results and there's no fulfillment. It's just kind of another checkbox exercise, and you realize that the game is growing and the game is the pursuit of the next challenge. That's the fun bit.
Exactly. And I think we often get caught up on the pursuit of happiness, as the American dream teaches us. And we're always looking for that happiness in the future. But actually, you need to flip that round. So instead of it being the pursuit of happiness, it's the happiness of pursuit. And you need to actually enjoy the pursuit of the success that you want, because that makes you turn up every day and improve 1% every day. And I've been through that, where I've been through experiences where I've got the mindset right. And I've also been through experiences where I've got the mindset very wrong when I start a new business. I mean, my first dropshipping business, I went in thinking it was going to be quick and easy millions. And I could just set up a few Facebook ads, watch a few YouTube videos, and I'd be rolling in it and laughing to myself. Wasn't the case. But by going in with that mindset, when things didn't go right, you feel dejected. And I felt really dejected. I was so much more likely to quit because I thought it would be easy, because I had that mindset. So instead, when I went into the next venture, I knew I had to get my mindset right so that I would continue for the long term. And that's what I did with my second dropshipping business. Now, obviously, I had the benefit of being in the Dropship Unlocked Masterclass program. And Lewis, you make it so clear from the start that mindset is so crucial. So I knew that, it wasn't a get-rich-quick scheme. I knew that I had to be not dabbling. I knew that I had to be really committing from the start. And that just made all the difference. So we've talked about the emotional foundations.